Good morning, crime community. I'm here to continue to read about Aurora Lee. We're talking about her husband or her cousin or something, the relationship. What stuff? She answered. Are they queens, these girls? They must have mantles stitched with 20 silks, spread about upon the ground before they'll step, one footstep for the noblest lover born. But I am born, I said with firmest, I to walk another way than this, dear aunt. You walk, a babe at 13 months will walk as well as you, she cried in taste, without a steadying finger. Why, you child? God help you, are you groping in the dark for all this sunlight? You suppose, perhaps, that you stole offspring of an opulent man, are rich and free to choose a way to walk? You think it is a reasonable thought that I, beside being well to do in life, will leave my handful in my niece's hand when death shall paralyze these fingers? Pray, child, albeit I know you love me not, and if you love me, and I may not die, and when I die, you will and leave you, out you go, unless I make room for you in my grave, unhoused, unfed, my dear poor brother's lamb, heaven that's pains without a right to crop a single blade of grass beneath these trees, or cast a lamb's small shadows upon the land, unfed, unfolded. Ah, my brother's here, the fruit you planted on your foreign loves. Ah, there's a fruit he planted, never look, astonished at me with your mother's eyes. For it was they who set you where you are, an undowered orphan, child your father's choice, and that said mother disinherited, his daughter, his and hers. Men do not think of sons and daughters when they fall in love, so much more of sisters otherwise, who would have passed to ponder when he did, and shrunk before the clause in the entrail, excluded offspring from a foreign wife, the clause set up 100 years ago by a Lee who wedded a French dancing girl, and had his heart dance over in return, and this man shrank at nothing, never thought, ah, you, Aurora, any more than me, your mother must have been a pretty thing, and all the coarse Italian blacks and browns, and make a good man, which my brother was, unchary as the duties of his house. But so it fell indeed, one cousin Vane Lee, the father of Romney, wrote directly on your birth to Italy. I asked your baby brother for my son, in whom the entails now merges by the law, betroth her to us out of love instead of colder reasons, and she shall not lose, but love of law, for henceforth, so he wrote, the generous cousin was my cousin Vane. Remember how he drew you to his knee the year you came here just before he died, and hollowed out his hands to hold your cheeks, and wished them redder. You remember Vane, and now his son, who represents our house, and holds the fiefs and manors in his place, to whom reverts my pittance when I die, except a few books and a pair of shawls. The boy is generous like him and prepared to carry out his kindest words and thought. To you, Aurora, yes, a fine young man is Romney Lee, although the son of youth has shone too straight upon his brain, I know, and fevered him with dreams of doing good. Too good for nothing people, but a wife will put all right and stroke his temples cool with healthy touches. I broke in at that. I could not lift my heavy heart to breathe. Till then, but then I raised it, and it fell. In broken words like these, no need to wait. The dream is doing good to me at last, in ending without waiting for a wife to cool the fever for him. We've escaped the danger, thank heaven for it. You, she cried, you got a fever? What, I talk an hour long to you? I instruct you how you cannot eat or drink or stand or sit or even die like a decent wretch to all this unroofed and unfurnished world without your cousin, and you will still maintain there's room twixt him and you, was flirting fans and running knots in eyebrows. You must have a pattern lover sign in his knee, And do you not count enough a noble heart above book patterns, which this were mourn, unclosed in self in two dear fathers' names, to embrace your orphaned life? Fie, but stay, write a word, and counteract this sin. She would have turned to leave me, but I clung. Oh, sweet my father's sister, hear my word. Before you write your cousin Vane did well, and cousin Romney well, I was well too, and casting back with all my strength and will. The good they meant me, oh my God, my God. God meant me good, too, when he hindered me, seen from saying yes this morning. If you write a word, it shall be no. I shall say no, no. I tie up no upon his altar horns, quite out of plenty of perjury at least. My soul is not a pauper, I can live, at least my soul's life without aims for men. And if it must be in heaven instead of earth, let heaven look to it. I am not afraid. She seized my hands with both hers, restrained them fast, and drawing her probing and unscrupulous eyes right through me, body and heart, yet foolish sweet, and love this man. I watched you when he came, and when he went, and when he talked to me. I am not old for nothing, I can tell the weather signs of love. You love this man. Girl blush sometimes because they are alive, half wishing they are dead, and save the shame. The sudden blush devours them, neck and brow, to have drawn too near the fire of life like gnats, and flare up bodily wings and all. What then? What sorrow for a gnat or girl? I blushed. I feel that brand upon my forehead now. Stroke hot, sear deep, and guideless men may feel the felon's iron, say, and scorn the mark of what they are not most, illegal, illogical, irrational nature of our womanhood that blushes one way, feels another way, and prays perhaps another. After all, we cannot be the equal of the male who rules little, his blood of little, for although I blushed indeed, and if I loved the man, and her incisive smile accrediting that treasures of false witness in my blush did bow me downward like a swath of grass. Below in level that struck me, I attested the conscious skies and all their daily suns. I think I loved him not, nor them, nor since, nor ever, nor we loved the schoolmaster, being busy in the woods, much less being poor, the overseer of the parish. Do we keep our love to pay our debts with? White and cold, I grew next moment, and my blood recoiled from that imputed ignominy. I made my heart great with it. Then at last I spoke veritably, word, but passionate, and passionate perhaps, ground up with sobs to shapeless endings. She let fall my hands and took her smile off in sedate disgust, and peradventure she had touched a snake, a dead snake, mind, and turning round replied, "We'll leave Italian manners, if you please. I think you had an English father, child, and ought to find it possible to speak and quiet yes or no, like English girls without convulsions. In another month, you'll take another answer, yes or no." And with that, she left me in the garden walk. I had a father, yes, but long ago. Had long, it seemed, that moment. How far and safe, God, dost thou keep thy saints? When once gone from us, we may call against the lighted windows of thy fair June heaven, where all the souls are happy and not one, and even my father look from work or play to ask who is that cries after us below there in the dusk. Yet formerly he turned his face upon me quick enough. And I said, Father, now I might cry loud. The little lark reached higher than his song. When then I with crying all alone, my troubling any in heaven nor any on earth, I stood there in the garden and looked up the deaf blue sky that brings the roses out in such June mornings. You who keep account of crisis and transition in this life, set down the first time nature says plain no to some, yes, in you, and walks over you in gorgeous sweeps of scorn. We all begin by singing with the birds and running fast with June days, hand in hand, but once for all, the birds must sing against us, and the sun strike down upon us like a friend's sword caught by an enemy to slay us while we read the dear name of the blue of the blade which bites at us. That's bitter and convincing. After that, we seldom doubt that something in the large, smooth order of creation, enough no more than happily a man's footsteps has gone wrong. Something tears felt down my cheeks, and when I smiled, as those smile who have no face in the world, to smile back to them, I had lost a friend in Aurora Lee. The thing was sure a friend who had looked at me more gently now and then, and spoken in my favorite books, our books, which such a voice and look were now most utterly shouted out from me, I felt, when even my father's Romney now was turned to a benefactor, to a generous man who had tried himself to marry me instead of such a woman of low timorous lids, and lifted with a sudden word one day, and left perhaps for my sake, self-tied by a contract made Iphigenia bound, and as fatal Attalus with the winds to change, but lose him, they'll not change. He well might seem a little cold and dominant in love. He had a right to be dogmatical. The poor good Romney love to him was made a simple law clause. If I married him, he should not dare to call my soul my own. So he had brought and paid for, which thought and every heart beat down, where in the hill, and one found honestly deductible from any use that pleased him. He might cut my body into coins to give away among his other paupers, change my sons, while I stood dumb as Griseld with black babes of pietous foundings, might unquestioned set my right hand teaching on the ragged schools, my left hand washing on the public baths, when time my angel of the ideal stretched, but his to me in vain I could not claim the poor right of a mouse in a trap to squeal, and take so much as pity from myself. Farewell, good Romney, as I loved you even, I could but ill afford to let you be so generous to me. Farewell, friend, since friend bewitched us two, forsooth must be a word so heavenly overladen, and since help must come to me for those who love me not. Farewell, all helpers, I must help myself, and I am alone from henceforth. Then I stooped and lifted the soil garland from the earth, and set it on the head as bitterly as when the Spanish monarch crowned the bones of his dead love. So be it. I preserve that crown still in the drawer there. 'Twas the first. The rest was like it, those Olympian crowns. We run for till we lose sight of the sun and the dust of the racing chariots. After that, before the evening fell, I had a note which ran, Aurora, sweet Chaldean, you read, by meaning backward like your Eastern books, while I am from the West, dear, read me now, a little plainer. Did you hate me quite? But yesterday I loved you for my part. I love you. If I spoke untenderly this morning, my beloved, pardon it, and comprehend me that I love you so, and set you on the level of my soul, and overwashed you with the bitter brine of some habitual thoughts. Henceforth my flower be planted out of reach of any such, and lean the side you please with all your leaves. Write woman's verses and dreams woman's dreams, and let me feel your perfume in my home, to make my Sabbath after working days. Bloom out your mouth besides me, be my wife. I write in answer, we chaldrons discern still farther than we read. I know your heart, and shut it like the holy book it is, reserved for mild eyes slants to pour upon, bewitched their prayers as vespers. Well, you're right. I did not surely hate you yesterday, and yet I do not love you enough today to wed you, cousin Romney. Take this word, and let it stop you as a generous man from speaking farther. You may tease indeed, and blow about my feelings or my leaves, and here's my aunts will help you with cast winds, and break a stalk perhaps tormenting me, and certain flowers grow near as deep as trees, and cousin will not move my root, not you, with all your confluent storms, and let me grow within my wayside hedge and pass your way. This flower has never so much to you to say as the antique tomb which answers to travelers' pause, Sisti visitor, ending thus I signed. Think we will end this for another day about the love of Aurora Lee and her cousin. We pray for peace in the world again. And if you think there's any like and enjoyment to what I'm saying, remember that the pre-antebellum women created our rights that we enjoy to this day. So we pray for peace and harmony and peace in the world again.